Just don't let me fall, Dad.
Never.
I, Edward Cullen, take you, Bella Swan.
For better or for worse.
To love.
To cherish. As long as we both shall live.
This is how I'll remember you. Pink cheeks, heartbeat.
I think I'd be used to telling you goodbye by now.
Last night was the best night of my existence.
It's impossible. Whoa.
The fetus isn't compatible with your body. It's too strong and fast growing. It's crushing you from the inside out. Your heart will give out before you can deliver.
You did this.
I can't see Bella's future anymore.
We don't know what they've bred. We have to protect the tribe before it's too late.
You're the enemy now. Sam won't hesitate. You will be slaughtered.
It's starving you by the hour. I'm the one who'll lose you.
You have to accept what is.
You've given me no choice!
Get ready. They're coming for Bella.
You're not gonna touch her.
If you kill her, you kill me. Bella.
Come on.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on podcast services by searching They Call This Movie, and find us on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? That's it. Pretty good week for me.
I gotta say, Mark is wearing out that Eagles welcome. I was rooting for the Eagles. I was happy they won, and now I'm regretting it.
As Ant said off podcast, I have to Friday to be obnoxious, and then once the parade occurs, no more.
Yeah,
it's on to the next one.
It's on to our regular scheduled lives.
I will say I was happy that I like Jalen Hurts and I like Saquon Barkley as a Giants fan. So those guys are cool in my book and good. I'm happy that Mark is happy, but I can only take Mark's happiness for like a little while, and then I need him to be miserable with the rest of us.
Oh, don't worry. The Phillies are starting, so I can be miserable soon.
It is. I can only describe it as delicious that we have the gift of last season of Hard Knocks to just have. It's so serendipitous that they were the team this year, where there's so many good clips and sound bites of that general manager just fucking the football live several times.
I can't think of another instance where like a decision like that came back so quickly to bite someone in the ass.
Yeah, he said, I might lose sleep if he goes to the Eagles. That came true. And then someone say it's not like he's going to rush for 2,000 yards or something like that.
And not only that, and it, like immediately makes such an impact that they handily win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They not only beat teams, they crushed teams in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, 40-22 is a pretty handled score, but the game wasn't even that close.
No.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes with a stat padding.
Right. He cost me $500, that son of a bitch.
Yeah. By the way, Dan, you were a hit of my Super Bowl party from once you told it was 0-0 was your number. Every time it clicked over from 0, people was like, "What'd your friend say?"
Oh, man, when I had those numbers, it was 0-0 and 9-5, so I wasn't feeling good about those numbers. But once I saw 0-0, I was like, "Oh, I'm locked in, baby. Let's go." I'm sure 0 will show up at one point. 0-0 will show up at one point. And just like each team did the best they could to not have a 0 at the end of their score.
Yeah.
It was but you know what, listen, again, I'm glad that the Eagles won. The right people were pissed off by a halftime show.
Yeah. I think that's really what's getting me through the days. It's the Giants GM thing and just the solid, unquestionable L that Drake has taken this year.
You can't bounce back from that.
That was probably the most diabolical moment in Super Bowl halftime history when he says, "Hey, Drake," and smiles directly into the camera.
120 million people saw him do that.
It's what gives me life in these
amazing.
very trying times.
I don't even know hip hop beef, but that from what I've heard from you guys and some other people that are in on it, like that's just you cannot bounce back from that. No matter what you do, that's career ending shit right there.
Yeah, he'll probably make stuff. Yeah, he could go back to Aubrey.
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing another? What was that TV show he was a part of? Degrassi.
Degrassi.
Maybe they'll do another Degrassi spinoff, and he could be on that now. I don't know. I don't know how you rebound from this.
Oh my god! It was just I was also the only one in the room at the party that was enjoying that halftime show.
I had to read the texts of my boomer family of loving it.
Apparently, Jelly Roll is pretty popular amongst that crowd.
Yeah, apparently, my dad's apparently a very big Jelly Roll fan.
I'll tell you one thing that I didn't watch the game because I didn't realize until later it was on Tubi, but because I don't have cable. But one thing that I saw.
You said you didn't watch the game? I
didn't watch any of the game. No.
Okay.
I followed it on my phone. We were watching Bluey all night.
Oh, well, you know what? We've been watching Bluey this week too. I don't blame you.
Yeah, listen, I fucking love that show unabashedly. Sometimes I just put it on for myself now.
half the time Bluey is on, he is not even positioned to watch the television.
No.
He's like back towards the TV in his bouncer as I bounce him.
Yeah, this is for mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean he's also 4 months old. He doesn't. He likes the colors and the shapes. You know, really, right. He's really not old enough to understand it. So we'd be showing him porn for all he knew.
Danny just likes the music. When the theme song hits, he'll dance a little bit, and then that's it. But the messages of the show are really good. Obviously, it's a kid's show, so it would. But there's a few episodes where like I get a little choked up even now. I don't know if you've seen too many episodes, Ant, but we don't have to discuss it on the podcast. But Parent to Parent, that's I was not expecting Bluey to be like hitting me in the feels, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I know there was an episode that became very popular this summer over its feels that it was giving to the parents. I haven't come across an episode yet that got me emotionally, but I might have just been not paying attention. Yeah.
There's the one that I could think of is Sleepy Time. There's one that deals with like infertility. That's pretty big, and I think the one that you are mentioning is when they're getting ready to move. It's like the moving day or something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one, but there's some good stuff out there. Mark, you wouldn't understand. This is dad shit right here.
Yeah, join us on our Patreon show where we watch and review every episode of Bluey.
Oh, real quick, I've been dying to talk about this. Can I just real quick?
Go ahead.
Anthony brought up the reviewing a TV show. I've discovered I have an unnecessary hate for podcasts where the stars of a show recap the show they were on.
Sure.
So, like for instance, there's one. Have you guys seen or heard of the show Bones?
Yes.
Yeah, with Emily Deschanel and David Boreanaz, right?
Yes. So apparently, Emily Deschanel and another actor are reviewing all of the Bones episodes, and I'm saying, like, are we really at this point where we're reviewing Bones? Is that a groundbreaking television show?
I don't know.
I don't want to hear you guys talking about it because you're obviously you love that show. You guys were on it. I want to hear what other people have to say about a show, not the stars of it.
Yeah, but any of those podcasts that I listened to, I died off pretty quickly in terms of listening to it because some of them started out really good where they would give you the behind the scenes stuff about, which is pretty cool. Like, oh yeah, we changed this on the day or we did that. I'm like, all right, they're not like saying, oh, this is such a great scene, you know, that kind of stuff. They were giving you a little more, and then it would just turn into that where they're just, you know, basically, you know, celebrating the episodes instead of giving any kind of insight into it. Yeah. I don't need a review. I just need like what was cut. You know, what do you remember? From, you know,
and stuff. Yeah.
I get the concept though, because I have watched at least maybe like 3 or 4 times Simpsons seasons 1 through 9 or 10 with DVD commentaries on, and it's all basically just the writers talking about the show. Yeah. So I get the concept of listening to it.
I find that to be different though, the commentary, because it's like you're diving into what the writers are talking about, not the actors. I don't care what the actors do. I want to know what the writers are doing. Like what made them think of this joke or this gag, you know what I mean?
Right. But like, are you going to get that same insight from the writer of an episode of Bones?
No, because that's just running.
Because like the Simpsons commentaries are all a bunch of comedy nerds, right?
Yeah,
Harvard educated guys, and eventually sometimes John Lovett shows up for the commentaries.
Yeah, or Matt Groening, right? Matt Groening's in a few.
I think he's in almost all of them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So like the creator is a little bit different than listening to David Boreanaz talk about it. Like, this scene took 20 takes to do. Oh, great.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I don't know. I think to me, it's more about Bones just not being that interesting of a show to have a podcast about, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm sure. And it lasted for over 200 episodes, so somebody liked it.
Somebody was watching it.
Someone liked that show for some reason.
Just like NCIS.
Yeah, and all the spin-offs.
Yeah, I mean, people love their procedurals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They're still big, and I guess they're not going anywhere.
Nope.
No, they're easy to write.
Yeah. Oh yeah, write one right now.
I didn't say I could.
I'm sticking up for the writers of Bones.
Right.
Some asshole in Delco saying, "Oh, I can write a Bones episode."
I don't remember saying that, but okay.
I believe you said it's easy to write them. I was sticking up for Hart Hansen, writer of season 6, episode 1, "The Mastodon in the Room."
Any Joe Schmo could write a Bones episode. Pull some guy off the street.
Sometimes it feels like it in later episodes of some of those shows.
I'll be honest. I've watched. So my sisters would watch Bones, and I watched a couple episodes. You have it's a standard A-B plot, right? Where they're solving a murder mystery, and there's like a love triangle going on somewhere else.
Yeah.
Emily Deschanel is like what do they call ADHD nerd?
Is she the Bones?
She is
Dr. Bones.
Dr.
Brennan
Bones.
Yeah, Dr. Brennan Bones or something like that, or
No, I think she
That
has
was a
like a
nickname.
regular name, but the joke
yeah, her
is
nickname is Bones.
Bones. 'cause
Temperance
she works with
Brennan.
Bones. Yeah.
Man,
Yes.
that's an overwritten first and last name. Temperance Brennan.
And there's Will They Won't They with David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
I think they wind up getting married in the show.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. For someone who's shitting on Bones, I know an awful lot of Bones.
You do know a lot about Bones. Should we do a Bones rewatch? It'd be completely new to me.
Does Bones have a Thanksgiving episode?
It'd be amazing if we sit here and talk about shooting the shit about like what our Patreon would be, and it just becomes, oh, we're rewatching Bones for no specific reason.
I've gotten a few people have asked me to do like we should do TV episodes like specials for our Patreon. So like you remember how we did the Seventh Heaven?
I'm still game for one of our Patreon things to be subjecting you to Secret Life of the American Teenager, Dan.
I will do anything for money. I will watch anything. I will do almost anything for money. So don't put it past me.
Would you rate an episode of Bones?
I would do that for free.
Because it'd be so easy.
Yeah, I mean that's a weekend right there.
A monkey could do it.
The blurst of times. You're bringing it all back.
That's right. Yeah. Hart Hansen.
Wonder if
he's the creator.
Yeah.
He also wrote this episode, which was The Man in the Fallout Shelter, season 1, episode 9, the highest rated of the season, according to IMDb.
I would love nothing more than for him to hear this.
Yeah. I hope we ruined your commute to work, Hart Hansen, as you're listening to this episode.
Hey, wait a minute, that took me a long time to write that episode. These three assholes think they could do it in a weekend.
Yeah, I hope it was your commute on Valentine's Day. Because speaking of which, this is our Valentine's Day episode, fellas. And we are in the home stretch. This is the penultimate episode of the series that we've done, one of two. And man, this one's just watching paint dry, isn't it?
I'm glad. My first question to you, Anthony, was going to be, how many more of these do we have left?
One.
We've got one more.
Thank God.
This is it. Yep.
Dan, I bet you can't guess the name of the final movie.
Well, it's part 2.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That I did know, but I thought there was another one after that, like New Moon or something like that.
We've watched. This is okay. So everybody, today we're watching the Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 1. Dan historically doesn't remember anything from any of these movies. So he's saying, I think there was a movie called New Moon, maybe. We've watched it already, Dan.
It's the second movie.
It's the second one.
This is not a gag. It's not a bit. I legitimately don't remember any of the movies that we've watched from this saga. The very first note that I have written down here is I have no idea what's going on. And I'm not joking. I got into it. The beginning is there's a wedding happening. I was like, what the hell happened? I don't know. I was hoping there would be like a little like catch up at the beginning. Like, this is what's happened so far. No, they threw me right in.
Yeah, they kind of do, because they don't explain.
Twilight doesn't hold for their audience. They're a sophisticated group, the Twilight fans. They know.
More. Yeah.
They know what's going on. They don't cut with the foreplay. We're going right into vampire dick. Give me that vampire dick. That's what we're talking about. Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yep.
Jen did mention that this is the horniest of the movies. So.
Oh yeah,
and it's still pretty chaste.
Yeah, it's PG-13.
It delivers. It delivers on the horniness, but yeah. Oh my gosh, she she gave me a rundown of what's happened so far in this series, and
You watched all of them.
I have. Yes, I have. But from what she told me, and this is what I remember, Bella wants to be a vampire.
Yes.
Edward will only do it if they get married. But he doesn't want her to be a vampire. And something about Bella and dirt bikes. That's what I have written down here. Bella does something with dirt bikes in the movie.
I think that's from New Moon.
Yeah, it might
Is
be a
it?
New Moon thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, and the Bella vampire thing also, the evil European vampires required her to become a vampire or else they were going to kill the Cullens. So that's something that you probably should have known going into this movie.
But they don't show up in this movie.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do. At the end credits sequence.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when they're like looking into the future, right?
Yeah, when Michael Sheehan comes in and eats up scenery for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's a mid-credit sequence.
Yeah.
Oh, I turned it off immediately. As soon as she opens her eyes and they're red, I turned it off.
He's like, I saw that episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, there's all the Voltari are the best part of this entire movie.
The Voltari, that's what they are. I thought they were the Conclave.
No, Voltari.
Okay.
Yep. So, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, directed by Bill Condon, who's directed a bunch of decent movies. Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, Gods and Monsters, Kinsey, Dreamgirls, The Fifth Estate, Mr. Holmes, the live-action Beauty and the Beast, and The Good Liar. He's won 2 Academy Awards for writing. Stars Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, Taylor Lautner, Gil Birmingham, Billy Burke, Sarah Clark, Ty Olson, Ashley Greene, Jackson Rathbone, Peter Facinelli, Elizabeth Reeser, Kellen Lutz, and Nikki Reed. IMDb score of 4.9, Rotten Tomatoes score of 26%. Budget $110 million. Box office $281 million US, $712 million worldwide. Well, we watched Breaking Dawn Part 1, so I want to know where you guys are coming from with it. So, Dan, why don't you explain where you're coming from with this movie?
Okay. As everyone already knows, I'm basically coming into this fresh, apparently. There was something about this movie where I was on board for a little bit. Like maybe the first 30 minutes I was on board, and then the scene where Bella becomes pregnant, and then I just like lost it. I lost the plot immediately, and it becomes a soap opera after that, where there's a lot of Edward kind of just sulking. Jacob is fighting with his pack. There's that whole thing going on. And I couldn't stop laughing and I don't know if they've done this in the previous movies, and you guys can remind me, but the wolves talk to each other via a telepathic connection.
Yes, and Edward can read minds too, like can communicate telepathically, minds,
but not with the baby.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. Oh no, not with Bella. He can't read Bella's mind, but he could read the baby's mind.
No,
he knows what's going on with the baby because he's like touching Bella.
That was like, oh. Yeah. That was after. Yeah, and
then there's like all these weird looking vampires. They all look so goddamn stupid. There's the whole section where she's pregnant and it goes so quickly. Just really like I don't know. I didn't understand what was happening. I got so confused. Why is it going so quickly? Why are the vampires fighting the werewolves again? Why is the werewolf fighting the other werewolf? Why is Jacob fighting his guy? Why is he in love with the baby? I
very valid questions, Dan.
Yeah, I just got confused because it became very dramatic, but these actors don't have the gravitas to be dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them are checked out at this point.
Yeah, like you can definitely see that Pattinson and Stewart are just kind of like phoning it in. Taylor Lautner is still giving it his all, and he could not be more wooden in this movie. And I kept thinking to myself, at the beginning. I was like, I'm glad that Pattinson and Stewart were able to kind of shake off the vibes of this movie and go on to do better things. It's like, well, how come like Taylor Lautner hasn't been able to do that? And then I watched this movie and I figured that, oh, I get it. That's why he's not the strong suit in this movie. He's not terrible, but there's just a lot of scenes where he's trying to act really angry, and it's I'm not picking that up, man. I'm getting more like you're reading your lines, and that's kind of it was a mess. This movie was so messy. If I had to put it in simple terms, it's a messy movie.
Smark, where are you coming from with Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1?
So I have the opposite problem of Dan in that I have a memory that is a blessing and a curse. So I didn't remember much of this movie until I started watching it, and then it all came flooding back to me, and I got angry again. Because literally, this movie should not exist, and there is no reason for it to be 2 parts. Like, you can tell the full story in one big movie. Like, you would only need to add a half hour. You could tell this story in like 45 minutes at most, what goes on in this movie. And just add that to part 2. And then you didn't need to go through this. Because I can run through, like, in a 2-hour movie, this is essentially what happens. So it's basically the rundown of the movie. They get married in the beginning, which they are forced to by the Voltari. Well, not forced to, but they said she has to get married and become a vampire, or else we're going to take over your coven. So that's happening. That wedding's going on. And the entire wedding is just basically excuses to introduce other vampires that were in the book but never in the movie for the fans. Because there are scenes that are very like, oh, you must be Carmen. And you would imagine the people that read the books go nuts. So the wedding happens. They go on the honeymoon. They have sex a whole bunch, to which they destroy the bedroom every time it happens, and then he gets really weird about it. Because
let me just say, doing too much, guys.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question there.
Yes, go ahead.
This is my inner perv coming out, but I feel as if when you have a scene like that, I needed to see a little bit more from Kristen Stewart. Like he destroys a bed banging her, but she's fine. She just has a couple bruises.
Yeah. She
shouldn't be able to walk straight. Like she should be like her hip should be out of place in several different ways.
True. That entire thing is just crazy because the idea, it's the same thing that sort of happens to, in some other vampire fiction, is that if they've tried to control themselves, once lust comes on, they lose their control. So in the best PG-13 way, they explained that here. But you are 100% right. So they go through, they have sex, then he decides not to really touch her much because of the bruising. And then she gets mad, and then she says, let's do it one more time. They do it one more time. Then she finds out she's late because apparently it's been 2 weeks. They've been here. Then all of a sudden the baby makes her really sick because it's growing really fast. They run back home, and the wolves find out, and they say the baby breaks the treaty, so they can kill the baby because they're not allowed to kill the Cullens because of the treaty, but they can kill this because the baby breaks the treaty, whatever that means.
Oh my God, this is insane.
So then they go through, and you go through the whole sick pregnancy, and my favorite part that made me just explode is that she gets really, really sick, and then because the baby's killing her, and it takes the wolf thinking, hey, maybe this spawn that could be a vampire is just hungry and craving blood. Why don't we give it blood? It's been 3 weeks, and 6 vampires have not even thought to give this baby, Bella some type of blood that maybe that is what the baby's doing, like sucking her blood from the inside. And
one of those vampires is a doctor. Exactly.
And then he goes, oh, I just happen to have blood. Then she drinks blood and is really creepy about it. Says she likes it. And then she starts getting better. And then it skips along. Wolves are still mad and angry. The pack separates because, Taylor Lautner's, Jacob wants to protect Bella and be good with the Cullens. The wolves do not. And then 2 other wolves come with him. And then it's sort of a standoff where these wolves are outside for an hour and a half of the movie. And then we get forward, and then just as they have to go get more stuff, then Bella has the baby, And basically everybody has to do the surgery because the doctor ran off to get more blood. And then at this point, all hell's breaking loose in the room. The baby is born and all that, and then Bella dies. They give him the venom, to try and heal her. It doesn't heal. The baby gets taken out of the room. The wolves come and fight because Bella's dead. They start fighting. Jacob imprints on the baby to be her protector, which I guess is different than being a lover. They say things that make you go, no. He's not grooming this baby. And then the wolves start fighting. He jumps. Apparently, imprinting on a person is their most sacred rule. And I guess we learned that at some point. And then the wolves back off. They go inside. They clean up Belle a little bit and say the morphine's the reason she hasn't turned yet. And then she lays on the bed, turns. And apparently when you start turning into a vampire, you also put makeup on.
Yeah,
she looked great. She looked amazing. But I guess they could talk it away by saying that Alice likes to do makeup, so maybe Alice did her makeup while she was laying there. And then it ends with the iconic shot, which is probably the only reason that it is a part 1 of 2, is because from a filmmaker perspective and a shot perspective, the close-up of the face and the eyes opening, showing the vampire eyes, and then cutting the movie is probably something they really, really wanted to do when they got this, what the story was about from Stephanie Meyer. And then, it goes to the credits, and then it goes to the Volturi, who find out that she did become a vampire, so their thing is good. But Michael Sheehan says that he's basically still going to take everything from him, and he just is the best actor for the full 2 minutes he's in it, better than anyone else has been in the movie. And that is basically the recap. And with some opinion thrown in there. This movie, you could literally just do wedding, honeymoon, wolf thing, pregnancy, 40 minutes into part 2. And that is what, as Ant said in the beginning, that's what makes this movie feel like paint's drying, because nothing really happens for large swaths of this movie. And I'm assuming mostly what they're doing is it's supposed to be the emotional thing between Edward, Bella, Jacob, and all that is what they're really trying to drive home here. At this point, I don't know how you could be team either one of them watching this movie, because he's a dick, Edward, and Jacob's just being a baby throughout most of the movie. And yeah, it's just, this movie is just incredible. In that I don't know. It's just, I also love that I believe the writer of this movie also hated the baby name, because he wrote an entire scene where everybody but Bella shits on the baby's name, essentially, or tries not to laugh at it.
Renesmee?
Renesmee. Yeah, mixing the name. Her mom is Renee. His mom is Esme. Renesmee. The boy's name is actually better, but obviously she has a girl. Edward, Jacob, and EJ make so much better sense than Renesmee. But yeah, everybody hates it but Bella, and I'm sure that's just the writer going, this is shit, when trying to adapt Stephanie Meyer's writing. But yeah, this is just it's all a big setup for essentially what happens in the last 10 minutes of this movie. It's setting up the imprinting, which is a really big deal, apparently, and her turning into a vampire. Those two things happen in the final 10 minutes of the movie, and that is what the other hour 45 or whatever it is leads up to in a very slow and methodical way. And then they do those stupid speeches at the wedding, which must have been just taken from the book. And again, a fan service type deal of, hey, remember that thing you read in the book? Here it is. I have no memory of seeing this movie in theaters, as much as I have a great memory of the next movie. But yeah, this was a mess, and I was just angry as I could be at this. Yeah, and I was really, the thing I was looking forward to the most coming into this podcast is I just wanted to hear Dan's either anger or confusion, and I'm glad we got that.
Okay. As for me, I've seen this movie before, and I remember it fails to justify splitting these movies into two. Now, I'm not going to say I wanted to see a 2.5 hour, 2 hour and 45 minute version of this in its completion, but yeah, this movie is just that time and place when all these movies were doing that. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the first one doing so. 2010 was the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and it got everybody that great idea. Tell your audience going in, like, there will be no resolution at the end of this movie because there is a second part of it. Great. Love it. Love going into the theater to see that. And because of that, this movie it's too big of a cast with not much to do, really. It's people standing around. This it's like what 50 Shades of Grey were for 3 movies, just people standing around.
Yeah, Jackson Rathbone basically does nothing in this movie and probably gets a full paycheck.
I couldn't even tell you who he is outside of these movies.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Jackson Rathbone. I don't care.
Was he one of the brothers, the Wolf brothers?
No, he's the Cajun vampire. He doesn't mean anything in this movie. He meant something in the first one.
Yeah, he's the youngest vampire until Bella, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird existence of this movie because it was just a cash grab. They made $712 million, so no one learned a lesson because they made a shit ton of money for this one. They made a shit ton of money for the second one. So great, everyone got paid. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Or the wrong lessons were learned.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and they tried to sneak a pro-life message into this movie as well.
Sneak? Or just put in blatantly?
Just put blatantly. Yeah, having Nikki Reed's Rosalind argue with a doctor over fetus and baby at least 6 times in this movie.
Well, isn't just the whole turning vampire thing not until we're married thing just sort of Mormon-y?
Yes. Yeah.
And isn't imprinting on a child sort of Mormon-y?
Yeah.
Like, I know they really go out of their way and they bend over backwards to be like, no, this is not sexual. But, what the Mormons have a problem with is 50-year-olds marrying 16-year-olds.
But once they turn a certain age, like, good.
So, I mean, by the time Renesmee is 14, Jacob's only 32. So it's not that bad in comparison.
He has a vision of her when she turns 17, I think, or 16.
With her weird CGI head.
Yeah, so it's already setting that up.
Yeah.
Like,
and this isn't even the worst the baby gets, Dan.
Oh, God. I forgot. Yeah, there's more. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Anthony. They tried very hard to make it not sexual, but it's you can't hide that. And was Stephanie Miller is the writer? Meyer. From what I heard, she's not a very gifted writer.
No.
And it kind of bleeds into the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it begins to explain imprinting as basically all sexual when the wolves are explaining it on the beach. And then when it becomes the baby, it's totally not sexual. According to thing. And I bet you wouldn't be able to guess where Stephanie Meyer went to college.
BYU.
There
you go.
And going back to Mark, your pro-life message, not even being snuck in there, really just like being put in there, like Anthony said, is how Edward can connect to the fetus.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're so pure. They're not like me. Like, they have a life already.
And he only does that after she drinks the blood.
Right.
And starts coming back to life. And then because he was all, get that fucking thing out of her from like jump until that moment.
Right.
And all the guys were. Carlisle's like, we have to figure out how to get that out of there.
I'll tell you, my favorite part of this movie was the Hispanic housekeepers. They were so funny in this movie. Like they're basically shouting like El Diablo at Robert Pattinson, like he's a demon, and they're like, I guess they're aware that he's a vampire.
They have suspicions,
but somehow I don't know if this is a stereotype that I missed out on, but the woman, the Hispanic woman, immediately knows Bella is pregnant.
It is,
and,
shockingly stereotype.
Yeah, like you did something to this poor girl. You killed her. Like, how does she know?
Yeah, it could also be a stereotype for that, and also maybe that ethnicity or wherever she's from in Brazil just is attuned to knowing vampires, and she can feel the baby,
Sure.
Yeah, it's like some like voodoo kind of thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
like they're in tune with it.
Yeah. One thing that I hate about these movies, and there's plenty, but just how much established vampire lore means nothing.
Thank you.
Like what?
It bothers me so much that so much of these movies happen during the day.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
number one with the bullet in terms of vampire lore. They can't go out in the sun. They break it in the first one because all they do is sparkle. I mean, I guess in the second one too, he threatens to stand in sunlight and he would explode or something like that. But so many scenes that just happen in broad daylight. And he's not standing in the sun, he's inside, but still, you're supposed to be sleeping at this point. And when all of a sudden she's getting sick and they need to leave, that should be a thing because it's daytime right now. I don't care how fast you pack those bags to get out of there, Edward. It's broad daylight. You can't leave yet.
And that is actually one thing, because the reason they can live in the Pacific Northwest is because it's supposed to be cloudy and overcast all the time. So it's not like direct sun rays is what I guess is sort of. So they don't show you him ever leaving the house during the bright sun of the islands. Mm-hmm. But yes, he would literally have to sit there for probably another 8 to 10 hours before he could physically leave that house.
Yeah.
that would be funny to watch. Like, oh, she's really sick. I can't go anywhere. Sorry. You're on your own.
I also hate how selective he is with his own powers. Because that scene is always, he uses his powers specifically to get from one side of the room to the other. But when he could use that super speed to pack a suitcase really fast, he does it like a normal human does.
You got to be sparing with it, I guess.
Yeah, I think the only there's other two vampire lures, like depending on how deep you want to get into it. There's the whole thing where they're in the river with the running water, and running water in some vampire fiction kills vampires.
Oh yeah.
How much vampire fiction have you read, Mark? I am curious because I've never heard this. This seems deep lore.
He's right. They can't go through running water.
Are you Anne Riceophile?
I've seen a lot of movies, not read books, because that's for nerds.
Yeah,
reading is lame.
Yeah. So, but essentially he does that, and then the funny thing is the one thing they hold to is the inviting in, because that's why Kellen Lutz and Jackson Rathbone, they jump up to the window, but they don't come in because she hasn't invited them. She hasn't invited them in.
Gotcha.
So that's really the one of the few and the stakes, and those traditional ways to kill vampires. Again, she didn't have the skill to write, so she just made them be able to be around during the daytime because she wanted them to go to school.
I think that's the main one, Mark, where she just couldn't figure out how to get around that. So she was like, "Yeah, fuck it, they could just be out in sunlight."
Yeah, it makes it easy. Yeah. The thing in this movie is, at least to me, the inverse of two of the sisters in terms of how much better they look. Because Alice, goes backwards in terms of getting the short hair, and they make the eyes really weird and all that as the movies go along. And then Rosalie actually starts looking like a normal person and not someone wearing a wig for most of the movie, because I think she's finally not shooting anything else but Twilight. That is an interesting thing that I forgot about in this movie. And also how terrible of a liar Bella is when she's talking to her father. Everything she keeps saying just makes it worse. I'm going to go to Switzerland. Whoa. You go she didn't even need to say that. And it just, oh man. And then, and then nobody wonders why Jacob just burst out of the house, for no reason when he's supposed to be there for dinner. It's just so much. It's just left to these people must be stupid in some cases.
Yeah,
because
several notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything, and every time they seem to have like a light bulb moment, somebody comes and just dismisses it. Like when he sees all the graduation caps, the dad, he's like, "Are those graduation caps?" And the mom's like, "Oh yeah, that's great art. Where's Bella?"
I think one of my main issues with this movie is how many movies into this saga are we?
This is 4.
This is 4. You can only do a love triangle for so long, I think, before it becomes tiresome. But it's interesting in the first movie or the second movie, right? Because like you introduce it and then you build it, and then in the second or third movie it reaches its climax, and then whatever happens. But once you start getting into the fourth, the fifth, the sixth movie of a franchise, it's like you pick a person at that point.
Yeah, she does.
I know that I'm saying, but we still have Jacob is fighting for her and is upset that she's allowing Edward to impregnate her and all this stuff. I was like, listen, man, you don't have a say in this anymore. You're done. This has been solved. It's not interesting anymore. You need to have a storyline for yourself in these movies now that are separate of Edward and Bella.
Yeah, they try to set that up, but I don't remember exactly if they go through with it in the next movie. But set him up with that other wolf, the one that wishes she was imprinted on the alpha.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that's a better storyline than.
I don't know if they follow through on that, but
that would be far more interesting than him imprinting on a goddamn baby. Yeah. That's gross.
Yeah,
I don't need to see that.
Yeah, he's her protector, so they're going to be in each other's lives forever. Sure. To satisfy all the fans is why it happens in the book.
All right, Drake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
Ooh, your thoughts
that's
probably
going to play well.
Important.
That's going to play well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you needed to have a big death in one of these movies. Either a Jacob or an Edward go, just to make it a little bit more interesting and raise the stakes, right? Because now we're going into our fifth movie. I'm assuming none of them die, and like who cares at that point? It's everyone's gonna live happily ever after. I'm assuming she's a vampire now. He's a vampire. I don't know. It's just
Michael Sheen.
Right, he's part of the
Voltari.
I didn't know what I was going to go with there, but I don't know. It's just nothing is making me excited to watch the next movie. The finale of the Twilight Saga. It seems like it's just going to end on a wet fart.
You're not wrong. The only thing that's making me look forward to next year is I would love to be in the room with you for the final 20 minutes of the next movie. I think we've explained to you what happens, but I want to see your live I would love to see your live reaction to that moment.
What I'm expecting to happen next year is to have Jen run down the entire synopsis for me again.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to remember. Honest to God, I've already forgotten most of what happens in this movie. I know there's a wedding.
I wish I could.
I know they go to Brazil. They bang in a waterfall, and she gets pregnant immediately.
Yeah, they go to an island that Carlisle bought for his wife.
I don't know who Carlisle is.
That's Peter Facinelli.
Okay. I don't know it. Like all of these vampires and wolves are so boring and bland that I don't know who they are.
I can only the wolves I never really like burned into my brain knowing the difference in them. Because I don't know if it's because I've probably seen the first Twilight the most out of the series, and that's only like counting this thing we did like 3-4 times maybe. So I've gotten the Cullens into my brain and who they are because they don't really start introducing much of the deep lore of the wolves until New Moon for obvious reasons. And then so it's just the whole thing with this film is that it tries to as you said, it tries to both sides everything, meaning like Edward and Jacob have to be basically on sort of equal footing. Like one can't really seem to be winning over the other because they're worried about pissing off half the fan base.
It's like having two faces go against each other.
Exactly. Or
yeah.
Some would say they're the heels in this movie. But yeah, it's just it's literally like you said. I don't know the history if they filmed these back to back, like Back to the Future, and because I would feel bad for, as I said, not because they probably got paid a lot of money, but like Jackson Rathbone and
I don't feel. What's Jackson Rathbone? What's he done? Why are you so?
nothing.
Why is your heart bleed for Jackson Rathbone? I need to know.
He's the only vampire that does absolutely nothing in this movie.
No, that's not true. None of them do anything. There's too many. There's too many Cullens. That's the problem with this movie. There's too many fucking Cullens. None of them have a personality. There's no reason for any of them to be anywhere other than Edward and Bella. None of them matter. That's the thing. Yeah. That's why these movies suck. He doesn't matter. The two girls don't matter. Kellen Lutz couldn't even pick him out of a lineup. He doesn't matter. He's been through. He's in all 4 or 5 of these movies. He doesn't matter. Hasn't mattered a single second.
He's big, strong boy vampire.
Yeah, we covered him in Hercules.
Sure, we did.
Yeah. The only Cullen that's supposed to, outside of Edward, have a big deal, which I feel is more done in the book, just because of her power, is I feel Alice is supposed to be, the second one because she can see the future.
She's OP'd in some movies. Yeah. But I have several notes that don't really mean anything. I like how we rip the shirtless Jacob Band-Aid off immediately.
Got to give the people what they want.
And it's in minute 2. Love it. 6 speeches at a wedding? That's a lot.
Too many. Yeah. And not a single one of them is good.
Yeah, they just had to get Anna Kendrick up there.
Yeah, for her cameo.
Yeah.
ACAB includes Charlie. I don't make the rules.
Jen
50%. Good.
Jen kept calling him Zaddy. He's a Zaddy.
Him and Frank Stallone.
Him and Frank Stallone. Yeah, that's her dream team right there.
Dream Eiffel Tower.
Yep. Just a double freeway with Frank Stallone and Billy Burke. Go for it.
50% of this movie is Bella hankering for some dick, while the other half is her overdosing on Ozempic.
Oh my god, that freaked me out, man. She looks like she must weigh 90 pounds at one point.
Yeah. The vampires can't help but look like absolute dorks when they're attempting to look carefree and fun. I think this was the bachelor party scene.
Yeah.
The ill-conceived era of blockbuster franchises, splitting the last movies into 2. That's what I already mentioned. And too big of a cast with not much to do. Everyone just stands around. Those are my notes for the movie.
Yeah. And essentially, they stand around because you're told that the entire house is surrounded by wolves. So there's only one set for the last hour of this movie.
That's letting this director off easy, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
You can do things in a house.
That's true. We've seen it done.
That's true. Yeah.
Plenty of movies that just take place in a house. These characters are literally just standing there waiting to say their lines. They're doing nothing. There's no blocking whatsoever.
Don't take what I said in defending the director.
I feel like you are coming strong in attempts to make this movie's palatable.
I do apologize if that's the way I'm coming.
No, don't apologize for it. Do one or two things.
That is not my
dig in, Mark.
That is not my thing, because these movies generally do make me angry. As a new thing you learned about me, as someone that does like vampire fiction.
But
what's your favorite vampire fiction? That's what I want to know now.
I do like Buffy a whole lot.
Yeah, besides Buffy.
I like Buffy.
We can't talk about that because of Joss Whedon.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Let's see.
Mark, to be fair, these movies are about family, so
they are. Yeah, maybe that's what's making me mad too.
Yeah, and Edward moves pretty fast and furiously.
Yes, he does. He does. So does Jacob.
Yeah, there's a lot of fast and furious
going on. There you go.
Yeah.
And Alice is a telepath, just like Professor X.
There we go.
Not as strong. I would love if they had their own version of like Cerebro in this. Like she has to be in a special place and she could see further into the future.
All right.
That's 2 weeks in a row where I didn't bring up X-Men. Someone else did.
But you were
Beat me to
thinking
the
about
punch. Yeah.
Always. It's always on my mind.
it.
All right. Final thoughts, Dan.
Final thoughts. I think Anthony, I think you hit it on the head perfectly. A lot of people not doing anything. A lot of wasted vistas. I thought I had written down. They have some pretty cool scenery, and they really don't do anything with it. Yeah, a couple people kind of checked out at this point. They know the movie that they're in, and they're not going to give 100%. I thought for a 2011 movie, right? This came out in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sloppy. Doesn't look good in the special effects area at times. For instance, the end when the vampires are fighting off the wolves, and there's a lot of quick movement, a lot of quick camera movements, and it reminded me of the Eric Bana Hulk movie when he's fighting the mutant dogs, and it's all dark and you can't see what's happening, and that's done on purpose to hide the bad special effects in it. There are times where Bella looks like she's absolutely miserable in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
When she's getting married to Jacob or Edward, she's getting married, and she looks like she's a child bride being sold. Just a weird vibe I got from this movie, and
She looks like the most miserable ride of all time.
She does, and it's almost like a shotgun wedding. And it gave me creepy vibes. Like, it gave me Matt Getz vibes. I was like, oh, I don't like where this is headed. And
well, Edward is over 100 years old.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I can't get behind this type of romance where the vampire is hundreds of years old going after a 17, 18-year-old. It's like, that's still grooming, no matter how you shake it.
100%.
This love story is embarrassing. I think it's disgusting. I don't understand why women like this movie. It treats the main character like a helpless idiot. And again, I'm glad that Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson were able to shake off the muck of the Twilight Saga and go on to do bigger and better things. But these movies should be forgotten, and I hope they will be in another 10 to 20 years. We don't talk about them anymore. But I look forward to not remembering this.
All right, Mark, final thoughts.
Yeah, so it's been a while in this podcast that I've watched. It's been a while since I've watched the movie that you just sit there and go, there's no reason for this to really have even been made. All the standing around, as you guys mentioned. There's probably a half hour to 40 minutes of plot at all. The actors don't seem to want to be there. And they seem to just give people lines in this movie so they can keep their SAG card, it feels like. Because that's what I felt like the speeches felt like, oh, we just got to get these characters up here so they can say they had a speaking role in this movie. And yeah, they even had the thing where they brought back a vampire from like one of the first two movies and apparently had the connection to the Cullens that we never knew about. That was another point that we missed. And that they killed in like New Moon or something, or maybe even the first movie. But yeah, these entire movies are just meant to, it goes into the most basic of what people take out of vampire fiction and the sickest versions of them in terms of, and as much as I do enjoy Buffy, it's the same idea that she's a teenager and Angel is 100 and something years old, and creeping on her. And it's just that never works, no matter how young they look. It's just, when you start thinking about it, it breaks it. That's why most of the really good, like, Anne Rice stuff tends to be, the characters tend to be older. So you don't have to think about that aspect of it. But yeah, just overall, a lot of this movie, it doesn't make sense that in hundreds and thousands of years, no vampire has tried to have sex with a human. This had to have happened at some point, and they just seem completely thrown off guard that this can happen. But yeah, either way, it's just, the thing I'm looking most forward to is Dan watching the next part, because I probably should stop hyping it up, and he'll probably forget that I even hyped it up. The final 20 minutes of the next movie are just ridiculous and completely disregard everything that happens in the rest of that movie. But yeah, Breaking Dawn Part 1 should have just been a one-part movie. Like, it should have been the first act of the finale.
Okay, as for me, yep, this movie sucks. This movie of the Twilight series, we said, I think this is the worst one, and it's mostly because it doesn't justify its own existence. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. 6 speeches in a wedding, that's crazy. That's all I guess.
And like no rhyme or reason to them either.
Imagine being a guest at that wedding. Just have to sit through 6 speeches. God damn.
Yeah, and even the really strange speech that Kellen Lutz's character gives, which almost gives away that they're vampires.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was talking about how they were going to be banging a lot. I think that was the double entendre there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know there was the whole vampire thing as well. But what made it awkward was like, oh, get ready not to sleep, because basically Edward's a fuck machine.
Yeah, that's how the humans took it, but then everyone else was like, because they know what's really going on.
And I wanted to ask you a question, because I asked Jen, and I'm curious to hear to see if you have an answer to this. But what does Lynn like more, the Twilight movies or the 50 Shades movies?
I think she likes the Twilight movies. I don't know if she's seen... I think she watched the second 50 Shades with me when we covered it, but I don't think she watched the third one. I don't think she's ever watched the third one. And I think she read the first book, but I don't think she read any of the rest. And I did ask her, and she confirmed she has read all the Twilight books. Okay.
Jen was this like emphatically Twilight. Like she was like, it's not even close which one is the best one. So
yeah. Every time we watch a 50 Shades movie, it was like, man, I really wish we watched Twilight this year.
Which is wild, because we've already kind of discussed how Stephenie Meyer is not a strong writer. So, and imagine, if you will, making a fan fiction book that's even worse somehow.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. And it was just as popular.
Yeah. I can't wait until the ACOTAR movies come out, so we have something else to watch on Valentine's Day.
What is ACOTAR?
A Court of Thorn and Roses. It's basically when people read Twilight when they were teenagers. Now they're adults. Read an ACOTAR.
It's just horny fairy book.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, and also I don't know if we had mentioned this to Dan or it was mentioned in here that 50 Shades is Twilight fan fiction, so it is technically a worse version of Twilight from the beginning.
Well, that's what I was saying. It was like, essentially it's all fan fiction and just minus the vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Christian Grey is supposed to be Edward.
Yep.
Yeah. Supposedly, I was talking to someone about it. Supposedly, in the first draft, there were vampires, and then she got rid of the vampires and just kept it realistic.
He didn't want to get sued.
That makes sense, yeah.
Look, if you guys want to read it, just you can find Masters of the Universe on the internet somewhere.
Is that what it's called?
We've discussed this.
Yeah,
we've discussed this on the last 50 Shades podcast.
Okay.
And you really have to retain some memories. I beg of you. Snow Queen Ice Dragons was the name that she wrote it under. Yeah, I feel like we had this conversation with Jess Sager.
So I'll push out memories of my child for this.
You are a 36-year-old man. It shouldn't come that hard to you to retain memories. Are you older? You just
I'm
had
38.
a birthday.
Yeah, I'm
38.
38.
Still.
Just pushing out like how to do my multiplication tables to remember the Twilight Saga.
Dan, I've seen you do math. You're not holding on to anything.
I know how to do simple math. Enough to get me through the day.
But yeah, I guess that's my final thoughts. 6 speeches is way too many.
I like how this is the thing that is like really is your pet peeve on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I got plenty of others. It's the standing around bothers me more than anything.
Can
'Cause-
just oh, go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was
I was
gonna
gonna
say real
say,
quick.
good.
The one thing that really stuck out to me is just the general look of the vampires outside of Edward.
Mhm.
Like, everyone just looks so dorky, and I don't know. I know vampires are supposed to be sexy.
Mhm.
I don't get that vibe from anyone.
Yeah, they also just look like obvious vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, I know, people like Charlie probably don't think that vampires exist because he's an idiot, but like, it's like, if I saw somebody look like any of these people, like, oh, that person's a vampire.
There's zero way that you look at Alice in this movie and not go, there's definitely something wrong here.
is she the one with the pixie haircut?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's screams vampire.
That's good old Ashley Green.
All right. Well, that is Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. We're going to take a quick break. But before we do, Dan, what you have for us?
All right, guys. Real quick, please check out some friends of the podcast. First being the Top 10 with Tia. If you've listened to us for a while, you've probably heard her on some of our episodes. She and her co-host Brittany have a podcast where they run down top 10 lists. If that is something that you enjoy, please go to geekvibesnation.com, type in the top 10 with Tia, it'll pop right up. And also, Mark Myers, our very own Mark Myers, has the Game Vault podcast. It is a weekly podcast where you could find on any platform of your choice, where Mark is running down video game news, things that you should be kind of on the lookout for if you enjoy video games. He's also playing games on Twitch over at Game Vault Pod. So please make sure to follow, subscribe to him. He does a lot of work. He was just doing State of Play reviews this week. So he's got your news for you. Please follow on all socials at Game Vault Pod, and make sure to follow, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice.
Okay, great. And we're going to be right back, and you guys are going to listen to some ads, so we pay those bills, and we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for third segment, which this week is going to be tier list. We are going to rank S, A, B, C, or D, the hottest male vampires. And it was an active choice. I had a choice between doing the hottest male vampires or the hottest female. Yeah, I felt like we should do the hottest male vampires.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Can I say I think this is the right choice, because
This is definitely the right choice.
to me it's always been the hot male vampire that's what I grew up with. So it just feels right.
Sure. All right. Mark, why don't you start us off? You are the vampire lore expert.
Yeah.
So
let's
Jackson Rathbone on here.
It's Jackson. I think only Edward is on here from Twilight. Somebody. So I'll just go with an easy one here. You can give me as a character, you can give me Spike, and put him A tier.
Put him A tier. Don't let me. I guess I gotta zoom out. All right, A tier. Dan, what are you thinking of the spiky blonde hair? Are you a fan?
I was more of a Angel guy when I watched Buffy. It just Spike seemed off to me. I didn't feel that romance as much, but I'm not as big a Buffy fan as Mark is, so I can't say whether or not he should be there. So I trust Mark.
Yeah, okay. There's still a slot open. Good.
All right. Dan, where are you going?
All right. I'm going to go. I see Blade here. Now, as a movie, Blade is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. As a hot vampire, I cannot put him higher than, I'd say, C.
C. Okay.
Yeah. And that's just because he's not supposed to be hot, I think.
Right.
He is built to kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry.
Like Wesley Snipes it was like, oh, he's supposed to be hot, right?
He's always been the action guy.
Yeah.
He's just a badass. So not that badasses can't be hot, obviously, but Blade is not the first thing I think of when I think of hot vampire.
Sure. All right. I'm gonna get the lone S tier I see here off the board, and that's Brad Pitt from Interview with the Vampire.
I knew you were going to go
Right.
one of those two, and I was hoping you chose the.
Yep. He belongs there. It's a long hair, Brad. Yeah.
100%. Lestat.
Lestat, yes. I was trying to remember what his name.
Alrighty. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go the same thing Dan did, and let's put Kiefer Sutherland's vampire in the sea, because while he is a badass in that movie, they tried a little too hard with that mullet.
You don't like the mullet? You don't like the
I did
bleach
not like
blonde
the mullet.
mullet? Doesn't
No.
rev your engine?
No, it doesn't. I feel vampires a little more sophisticated, which is why I like the James Marsden slicked back, because he's probably a piece of shit vampire look. But yeah, they tried a little too hard to make him look tough in this.
Alrighty. Dan, what about you?
I'm going to go D tier, and I'm going Johnny Depp from was it Dark Shadows, I believe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a terrible look.
Yep.
Not hot whatsoever.
Yeah. Also, fuck Johnny Depp, but
Sure. Yeah, we could put that in there too. As a vampire, just ugh. That movie has Michelle Pfeiffer in it, and you're not gonna upstage Michelle Pfeiffer in
Sure.
any movie. So tough breaks, kid.
All right. I think some people might think this is an S tier, but I'm going to go A tier. I'm going to say Alexander Skarsgård in True Blood as Eric.
Yep.
6'4", ripped, just shredded. Can't really go wrong with that.
You going S tier for him?
I'm going A tier.
A tier.
I
Okay.
think there's an argument for S tier, but I think Brad Pitt stands alone. If there was an SS, maybe move Brad Pitt to the SS, but that's not the climate. Not climate we're in is to have that tier.
Yeah, I don't know how well Brad Pitt would get along in the SS tier.
Yeah.
All
right, Mark.
Let's just stay with Interview with a Vampire, and I'll put Tom Cruise's character in B.
B. That feels right.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't think he pulls off sexy vampire like they probably thought he did at the time.
Yeah. It's like he's very he's like the opposite of Tom Cruise sexy in that. That's like a step back from where Tom Cruise could be at that point of his career.
Yeah, it's 100% the hair in that movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
We're just not you guys just aren't blonde guys, huh?
I enjoy all colors of hairstyle, the hair, and people. But I don't know. It seems unnatural to have Tom Cruise as a blonde.
Sure. All right. Dan, where are you going?
And it's getting slim pickings already. I'm gonna go Gary Oldman. He's rocking that Victorian era top hat. I think you can make a case for A, because he looks very classy. He's a classy looking vampire.
Yeah.
Sure.
And now when you first meet him, he's like an F tier. He's an old looking dude with weird hair.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gets to London, he turns it up a notch.
All right. I am going to go C tier, and I'm going to put Bill Compton from True Blood in there.
Yeah.
Not a Bill Compton dude. Just didn't see it.
Nope.
Yeah. I didn't like him either.
The sideburns, the fact that he's like a Confederate soldier or something like that, I think.
That's right, he was, yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of lame and annoying. He's got the problems that Edward Cullen has, where he's just always there. And he's just kind of a whiny little bitch.
He's very clingy, right, to Sookie. Yeah. It bothered me in real life to learn that they were married. It's like, she could do better.
Yeah. All right, Mark.
Looking this over, and I'm glad to see that they picked the correct brother from Vampire Diaries here. Give me Ian Somerhalder in A. He's next to Colin Farrell.
Ian Somerhalder in
Ian
A.
Somerhalder, yeah. Yeah, Damien is the prototypical mysterious hot vampire in that series. Stefan is not.
Looks like he's got some work done. No, I'm not, allegedly. Mr. Somerhalder.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Don't come at me. All right, Dan, where are you going?
This might be a hot take, but going back to Blade, give me Deacon Frost S tier. I think he exudes sexiness in this movie.
Is that where was that?
That's Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif as what? What did you
Deacon
say?
Frost
Which
in
one
Blade.
Is that him? This him?
Um,
Tell me where it is.
I put him up on my. So I lost track of him, but he is. I can't see which one you're doing, unfortunately. But he was on the bottom tier, like the bottom row. I think he was between.
He a little bit over from Jared Leto.
Yeah, he's got the bangs going, like
This?
that '90s. I can't see what you're doing.
Are you saying
Unfortunately,
is that you mean Steven Dorff?
Steven Dorff.
Okay.
That's right.
Even Dorff, as in Dorff goes fishing, not not Brad Dourif,
I got it confused. I'm sorry.
the voice of Chucky.
Steven Dorff.
Yes.
That's his name. Yeah.
Where are we going? A?
I put him S.
Interesting. Okay.
There's a lot of scenes where he's like he's got the boy band look where he's wearing a long sleeve shirt but it's unbuttoned and he's got the abs showing
Mm-hmm.
and he's just kind of like sweaty a lot but it looks good.
Okay.
It's like he just worked out.
All right. I get him and Ethan Hawke mixed up all the time, which is difficult because they are both on this list.
Ethan Hawke is here. That's right.
For me, I'm gonna take Edward Cullen and put him in B.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that feels right.
Because, like, looks wise, I think he loses the toss up to Jacob.
Really?
I mean,
I
look,
guess it's a preference.
just like shredded. Like Taylor Lautner is so shredded in those movies that he makes everyone else look paunchy.
And remember, there's a guy that plays Hercules
Yeah,
in another movie.
he's so tweaked up on roids in the second movie that it's embarrassing for the other wolves in that because they're walking
the
around
wolves,
shirtless and they just look so out of shape in comparison.
Zero definition on the rest of them.
Yeah,
Like he took their definition and just added to his. It stacks.
I feel that they literally forced Kellen Lutz to keep his shirt on so that he didn't embarrass the wolves as well.
Maybe, yeah. That it would be like us walking around as werewolves.
Yeah,
It's like so few people look good, shirt off and jeans.
That's true. Yeah, you got the V going down there.
It's such a hard look to pull off.
and some of those wolves are in jorts.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not John Cena, you're not pulling off that look. And he's not even pulling that look off right now.
Yeah, there's only two people that can wear jorts: Cena and Austin. That's
I was going to say, and Kevin Smith.
and Kevin Smith. Oh man.
All right, Mark.
This is gonna be an odd one, but give me Eddie Murphy B tier.
Oh,
I think he's looking good in that.
He does look good
In
there.
Dracula 2000, right? That's what that movie's
That's
from.
Brooklyn.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yep.
You're thinking of Gerard Butler
Gerard Butler.
for Dracula 2000, and I don't see him on here.
What's this one? This guy. This rock star one. I forget what this guy was. Was that Queen of the Damned? That's Queen
I
of the
believe
Damned,
so.
right?
Yeah,
At first, I thought he was the Crow,
yes.
but the Crow's not a vampire.
He is not a vampire. He's a crow, from
crow.
what I understand.
I think he's a zombie, if anything.
Or like a reaper?
Oh yeah, maybe that's a good one.
Like a ghoul? I don't know.
A vengeful
A wraith?
spirit, a wraith. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Dan, where you going?
I'm gonna go the original Fright Night.
Chris Sarandon?
I think he's a B
Sure.
because again, he goes after what's her name, Amanda Burse,
Yeah.
and she's like
Marcy
17.
Darcy.
Marcy Darcy, that's right, from Married with Children fame. And in the context of the movie, I think she's only 17, and he's a much older vampire. He's just an older person to begin with, so it's it's not great, but he's got a good look. He's got a good 80s look to him.
Yeah. He looks very sophisticated.
He does.
Well, you know what? This might be a controversial pick because the movie is lauded as a terrible movie, and I hate him as a person, Jared Leto's a pretty hot dude.
Yes, he was
I'm
my
putting him
next
at
pick
A.
too. I was going to do the same thing. Yeah.
He's a very pretty man.
And that's what we're basing this off of.
Yep.
Yeah, look, we're being very shallow.
Yeah, Morbius is a hot guy. He's a hot vampire. What can I say? It's not my fault. It's your fault, audience.
Just because
Giving this
he's
guy a
ready for
platform.
adult
Yeah.
doesn't
By
stop
going
him
to
from
see
being
you 30 Seconds to Mars in concert, you've given us Jared Leto's Joker. All
a
right.
living society.
Mark.
Let's just let's continue. Going back and forth between two of them. Yeah, just going with the shredded body look. Why don't we do A tier Colin Farrell there?
Okay. Yeah. A little step up from Chris Sarandon.
Yeah.
I was going back and forth between him and Ethan Hawke, and I didn't know where to put Ethan Hawke, so
I personally do not find Ethan Hawke to be a good-looking guy.
that was my thing. It's like,
Not that he's obviously ugly or anything, but he just, for me, he doesn't do it.
He's not what you're looking for in a vampire.
He's not what I'm looking for in a vampire.
Especially here. Like, this is like mid 2000s Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Like maybe early 90s long hair.
This is the mid.
20s. Yeah, mid 20s Ethan Hawke.
Sure.
Maybe I could get on board with that. Like Reality Bites.
I would even go with
Gattaca.
I would go with Ethan Hawke now. Like
Sure.
he's become that. Again, I've used it earlier in the podcast, but like a zaddy type.
Right. Here, he's kind of like a weird teenager stage, like in terms of his career.
He hasn't grown into it yet.
Yeah.
I
It's an
agree.
awkward time. Daybreaker's awkward time for Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
All right. Whose turn is it?
I think it's
yours, Dan.
Yeah.
We're just not going to rank Ethan Hawke. I haven't seen Daybreakers, so you know what?
I couldn't tell you, honestly. I got that confused with the Christian Bale movie. Was it like, I couldn't even remember. It starts with a V or whatever. I don't know. Part of me wants to, like, I don't know if this would come off as a joke, but Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows, he kind of does it for me just because of, like, he's very proper. He's like that old English type of speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He kind of does something for me. I feel like he kind of belongs in the S tier almost.
Damn.
Like that's a beautiful head of hair, beautiful beard. He does it for me. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe, and again, maybe it's because of the way he talks too.
Maybe.
It just it scratches that itch.
All right. Getting into the dregs.
There's a guy here who's in like a pea coat. I have no idea who that is.
That's I believe that's Constantine from the TV series Constantine.
Oh, he's a vampire?
I think so.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Ish?
The DC Constantine?
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe
Oh,
it's not.
I thought he was a magician or like a warlock.
I don't know. I thought that's who it was, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I feel like that's a guy that my mom has the hots for. One of two, and Lucifer is not a vampire, so
That's pretty good. Your parents, man, they astound me.
They astound me every day. Every day I talk to them.
That must be something.
Let's see. I don't know who this guy is on the end.
Neither do I.
He looks like a sad boy.
Wait, next to Taika Waititi?
No, that's Taika Waititi. That's Jermaine Clement from What We Do in the Shadows. I'm looking at the guy at the top all the way to the right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
He looks like he's wearing like a house coat. But I'm gonna go. You know what? Let's go with Bill Skarsgård, and I'm gonna put him. I gotta put him a notch below his brother.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
B tier for Bill Skarsgård. No offense, Bill.
What
You got
vampire does he play?
He got those pouty lips. Well, he plays Nosferatu, but I don't think that's why he's here.
Gotcha.
Was it Castle Rock? That TV series, Castle Rock? He might play a vampire in that.
He doesn't play Pennywise in that?
No.
Okay.
Reprising his role.
That's what I thought. Because isn't that a Stephen King series?
Yeah, it is.
Castle Rock? Okay. That's what I thought.
All right, Mark, why don't you how about last picks? Last picks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just because after we questioned it and I researched it a little bit, let's put Stuart Townsend, who is the Queen of the Damned guy, and B tier because he's actually playing Lestat and doesn't do it as well as Brad Pitt.
Oh,
Fair enough.
Yeah, does not. Yeah, it reminded me when I looked up, I was like, Queen of the Damned, and then his picture popped. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. They couldn't get, probably at that point, by the time they make Queen of the Damned, you can't get Brad Pitt to come back. But yeah.
all right, Dan.
I feel like we need to put another D tier, another person in the D tier.
David Boreanaz. No,
Taika Waititi, not a great looking fella. Just and I like what we do in the shadows, but he's not going for sexy anyway.
Sure.
Right. So I don't feel as if I'm going out on a limb here by putting him at the D tier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. For my final pick, I'm gonna take Blackula, and I'm gonna put him in C.
That's fair.
Yeah, he probably could go D in all honesty with whatever the hell's going on with his face. Can't tell if that's like extra hair.
It's like weird contouring.
Yeah, or makeup. You know what? I'm gonna put him in D. I can't identify this as facial hair or makeup, so that's a big turn off.
Yeah.
He also looks like he's about 75.
Yeah, not sexy. 75,
yeah.
But not sexy. What's the cutoff date for being sexy? Retirement age?
I mean, like Barbara Crampton setting that record. I don't know. Michelle Pfeiffer,
Yeah, that's hair, by the way. I just looked it up. That's the incredibly terrible mutton chops.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, it stands at D.
Yep.
Yeah, when do you stop being sexy? That's a good question.
Yeah,
Jane Fonda could still get it. I don't know.
Jane Fonda still looks good. Yeah. I guess it's on a person-to-person basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to have this conversation when we do like our hear me outs.
80 for Brady.
Yeah. 80 for Brady. That's right. That's the whole point of that movie, I think.
Are they trying to fuck Tom Brady?
I think so.
Yeah, they want to meet Tom Brady.
He could do worse, I suppose.
Yeah.
He's doing the reverse Belichick.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, he's engaged or dating a 27-year-old, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Brady has to go 80.
Yeah, to fulfill the prophecy.
To prove how truly great he is.
All right, that is our tier list. We got some S tiers, not many. We got some D tiers, also not many. Looks like a perfect middle finger, really.
It does, right? If we just had a couple more in the C tier.
It's a Sufi.
Sufi.
All right. Well, that is our episode on Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. It's our Valentine's Day episode. So happy Valentine's Day if you celebrate. If you don't, happy Friday. Go get drunk. Doesn't matter. The world's coming to an end soon anyway. And the country is imploding on itself. If you're in the U.S., if you're not in the U.S., enjoy not having an existential crisis every single day. But
just waiting for the news to drop every day.
But before that happens, you could hit us up on all our socials because we're on all of them. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We are on Blue Sky. We're not on the other one at TicTamPod, but we're also on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie. If you have any questions, comments, you want to suggest a movie to us, you can hit us up at TicTamPod@gmail.com. And you could also check out our YouTube channel. I have been adding our full episodes once again to there. So those will start popping up once again. And yeah, check those out if you enjoy audiograms. Best place to find them. But we're also on Spotify and all those good places. If you have 5 seconds of your day, give us a 5-star review on all those podcatchers of choices. And give us a 5-star review. Would help us out a great deal. That's going to wrap us up this week. The director is for Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 is Bill Condon. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Devecchia telling Bill Condon, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.